Good afternoon, dear students. Let's continue the 10th chapter inside the computer. Next topic is different kinds of processors. Open sysinfo software in the computer. Observe the features of the CPU in the systems. You might have understood that there are different kinds of microprocessors. The microprocessors used in a computer are the major factors which influence the working speed of that computer. The microprocessors contain a number of very small electronic components which get heated while working. To absorb the emitted heat, heat sink and a small fan is attached to the processor. New generation processors have the technology which enables them to handle many instructions at the same time. Frequency, cache memory, the speed of information transfer to other components outside the processor, etc. are features related to the efficiency of processors. Clock speed and cache memory. When a computer works, a number of information is transferred from the CPU and to the CPU many times within a second. The rate of information transfer in a processor is referred to as frequency or clock speed. If the clock speed of the processor is more, then the instructions it handles also increases. Clock speed is normally measured in unit hertz. When the CPU works, it depends mainly on the primary memory of the computer. Sometimes the CPU which works very fast may find it difficult to get the information in time. Hence, facility is available in the processor to retain the frequently used information in the CPU itself. This is cache memory of the CPU. Processors differ in their levels of cache memory. The information and instructions handled by the microprocessors will be in the memory of the computer. Imagine that you are preparing an article in word processor software. If the power supply goes out, your file will be lost. But what if you have saved the file? The file can be used again. The file was in the temporary memory of the computer before it was saved. But after the file is saved, it is sent to the permanent memory. Permanent memory and temporary memory. Computers store temporary information files in RAM, a component which is made up of IC chips. When the power supply goes out, the data stored in the RAM gets lost. The operating system and the hard disk which stores all the files are considered as permanent memory of the computer. If you increase the storage capacity of the RAM, the processing speed of the computer increases. Random access memory or RAM. Drastic changes happen to the structure and storage facility of RAM. We use big size RAM in desktop computers and smaller size RAM in laptops. In gadgets like smartphones, tablets, etc., the RAM is inbuilt in the motherboard. Nowadays, we use RAM which have many times storage facility than the RAM used earlier. Know the storage capacity of RAM. To find the storage capacity of the RAM in your computer by using sysinfo application. In some tasks like video editing, more memory than the capacity of the RAM may be used for its functioning. A part of the hard disk is kept apart for these purposes. This is called swap memory. Hard disks. The permanent memory of the computer is the hard disk. Normally, all files including pictures, music, videos and the operating system of the computer is stored in the hard disk. Hard disk drives of various storage capacities are now available. The data storage devices used nowadays are hard disk drive or HDD. Solid state drive or SSD, secure digital cards or SD cards. Units of data storage. The basic unit of the capacity of data storage devices is bytes. A byte is 8 bits. Bit is a word formed from binary digit. A bit is a value of either a 1 or 0. You have studied about these values in the unit programming. A kilobyte is 1000 bytes. Then higher units like megabyte or MB, gigabyte or GB, and terabyte or TB are formed. In the place of kilobyte and megabyte units like kibibyte or kib and mebibyte or mib are also used. Becoming smaller. The vacuum tubes used in earlier computers were very big in size. After making transistors using semiconductors, the size of computers became small. Later, after the invention of integrated chips, which contained millions of transistors, the size of electronic equipment became smaller in size and the efficiency went up. Paths of information transfer. The paths used to transfer information between computers or between the components in the computer are called bus. Nowadays, Serial Advanced Technology Attachment or SATA cables are used to connect DVD drive and hard disk drive to the motherboard. This helps for speedy transfer of information. Motherboard. You are now familiar with the components of a computer like CPU, RAM, hard disk drive, etc. When the computer works, all these components and other parts of the computer have to exchange the data. How is this possible? This happens through the motherboard or the main board. Motherboard is a complicated circuit board which contains a number of electronic chips and electric circuits. All these components in the computer are connected to the motherboard. The connectors of the input-output equipment are also connected to the motherboard. Slots for connecting the expansion cards can also be seen in the motherboard. Now you might have understood how motherboard got its name. This chapter will continue in the next class.